If you don't know who Sophie Cunningham is, she's a WNBA player who plays for the Indiana Fever. Now, she's been embroiled in a couple controversies this year.
I was just kind of pointing, and she's like, don't you point at me. And I was like, oh, shouldn't have said that. And I didn't say a word.
And she just continued to point. I can't play because that's music, but she's just continuing to point. And Shorty lost her cool. I don't get why she got so mad. She's just pointing at, but it is what it is. I probably would have done the same thing. I would say I'm equally amounts of petty as Sophie Cunningham. Oh, you told me I can't do something? Well, guess what? Now I'm going to do it. And if you notice her coach that's holding her back, you'll see him in just a second. He actually has a smirk on his face because he thinks this is hilarious. And literally all she did was point. After the free throw, it's even funnier. She walks by her and then points backwards. Oh, that's the level of pettiness I need in my life. That's hilarious. Now this is all fun and games, and I thought it was all in great competition. If you can get under the skin of your competitor, why not do it? Especially if you're not going to get thrown out of a game. In February of this year, Sophie had some comments about transgender athletes playing in the WNBA. It didn't make very large headlines until it was recently brought up again in an interview she had during a practice, and this is what she said.
On that same vein, in that story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that?
Which I would tend to agree myself. It is pretty much common sense. Not that crazy of an opinion. I don't see a problem with that. The reporter thinks differently. Now listen to this next question.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that.
Right, she has an opinion. She's voiced her opinion. Why does that have to lead to some kind of advocacy for a group? Because if you stand for one thing, does that mean you automatically dislike the opposite of that, or that you're anti the opposite of that?
I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Do you think, I guess, along the line like that, it goes against perhaps, some people might say, hey, for the trans community, this could be something that could come back on us or be targeted against us?
This question by the reporter is even more straightforward, as if her opinion is going to lead to people in the trans community being hurt or affected. Title IX is an interesting part of this. The reason I say this is interesting is because they don't really necessarily define women from a biological standpoint, because before now, we've never really had this level of questioning or this level of thought process where no one really knows what a woman is. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think I know what a woman is, and I definitely don't think that a man who transitions into a woman is a woman. You could be a trans woman, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with that. That's how you want to live your life. But you can't now then say, well, I belong in women's spaces. I think that defeats the purpose of women's spaces. And if that's the case, as you'll hear further along, maybe we shouldn't have any women or men's spaces. We should just have regular spaces.
How do you, I guess, view that sort of critique?
You know, like I said, I extend love, and I don't dislike anyone. I think there's room for absolutely everyone here, and I think there's room to love everyone. And I truly think when you get people in the same room and you have conversations, you actually have a lot in common with a lot of people. And so I'm there to love, but I'm also there to love biological women, and I think that there are rights that need to be protected. And like I said, I'm going to stand true to that. I'll never falter in my beliefs in that, but I have never once said I hated the trans community. Like I said, I think there's space for everyone.
Sophie, what about Connecticut today?
That's a good answer. But the reporters don't like this answer. They're going to keep doubling down to see if they can get her to slip up.
Last one I have, Sophie. How do you, I guess, navigate a climate where whatever you say, people are going to say, well, this means you're automatically in this box or that box or this label or that label, politically, morally, whatever?
I really don't care. I know that sounds bad, and I'm not trying to come off like that, but I do think, everyone always is coming at it as a negative. Well, me coming out with that, there's so many people who are coming out with the positive, saying, you know what, finally someone has said something, and I don't really look at either side of those, because I know whatever I say, I'm going to get hate and I'm going to get love. And if I'm going to live by the love, I'm going to die by the hate. And that's just not who I am. I beat to my own drum. And so people are always going to have something to say. You could win the championship. You could be the best at whatever it is. And there's still people who are going to hate on you. And so that's just what this world is. So I'm confident in who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I'm happy being me. And I'm going to continue to be that.
Have you always had kind of that mentality when it comes to, people saying things, or is that something you've built and learned to adapt over time?
I think I've always kind of been able to, handle that type of pressure, I would say, and the type of eyes and the type of people who have comments. And like I said, there's going to be some negative comments, but there's also a whole bunch of positive comments too that no one really ever, people hate positivity for some reason. I have no idea why, but there's a lot of positive comments too when it comes to that. And so, it is what it is. Like I said, we're all human. We're no one's perfect here. And so I really don't care what other people have to say. I know who I am. My people know who I am. And hopefully I'm doing them proud and making room for young boys and girls in our world to have a better future than we did.
I don't have a problem with what she said, even if she decides to have the opposite opinion of what she expressed. Have your opinion. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But Cheryl Reeve did not have that same opinion.
Well, I don't think we should feel like our safe space is being threatened. That's what I enjoy about the WNBA, and I think we have to continue to safeguard that. I don't think these demonstrators are not being peaceful, or not that I've seen, and I haven't seen all of it. I haven't heard everything that's happening, but everyone has a right to peacefully assemble, right? That's whether you agree with them or not. It doesn't matter. It happens every day, on the corner and discussions. And it's not about agreeing. I think, you can have an opinion, in this space. I think the commissioner and the league have a responsibility to ensure that any topic that could be problematic for players, or they perceive to be unsafe or threatened in any way, or discriminated against. I think that's something that's fair for our leadership, and I'm quite sure that they have eyes on and ears on to make sure that it's a safe space for everyone, and that's what makes our league beautiful. In terms of my views. As I said last week, I come from a space of inclusion, and the narrative that I think that is problematic is to suggest that, number one, that transgender athletes are the biggest problem in women's sports. And I think this is what's bothersome, is that there's a faction of people in our country that are making this a massive issue. We have some issues. Number one, we need to protect trans kids. Every kid. To me, it's a human rights issue. Every kid has a right to.
This is what people do on this side of the argument. And on a lot of arguments, you see it on either side. Doesn't matter what side you fall on. But you see this a lot, where they'll misrepresent and say, for example, trans kids need to be protected. No one said they shouldn't be protected. The thought process isn't that because we want to keep the WNBA for women, that we should discriminate against trans women. That's not the point. The point is trans women cannot play with women. They should not play with women. That's the idea. Now, I have my own opinion on this, but I'm trying to look at this from a neutral perspective. I'm trying to understand the argument, and I genuinely don't understand the argument. The whole reason there are two separate leagues, the WNBA and the NBA, is because if you had men who were allowed to play in the WNBA, they would dominate. Some people say that's not true. I'm not a medical doctor. I am what my grandpa would like to call a common sense merchant. Why do we separate the women from the men, specifically in sports?
Regardless of gender diverse, transgender, every kid has the right to access. Now,
no one's saying they don't have the right.
What gets nuanced is, when you're beyond puberty, when you're an Olympic sport, when you have scholarships at stake and that sort of thing.
Right.
That's where I say that common sense people get together and you find common ground to find a way to be inclusive. The answer isn't no. It is not the case that we have, quote, biological men in girls' locker rooms. The way it's being phrased, the innuendo.
Well, that's what would happen if you allow trans women into the WNBA or into women's sports. Is that not what would happen? 'Cause technically, they're biologically still a man.
Still there, that somehow transgender women are predators of some kind in the locker room.
No,
There's
nobody
a
said
lot
that.
of
That's not
narrative
true.
that is problematic that we need to address. That is simply not what's happening. I think we can take on the issue. There are more and more transgenders in our country as years go by. There's going to come a time. I've encouraged, years ago, I encouraged the WNBA leadership. What's our stance? What are we going to do when this occurs? Are we going to be ready? Or are we going to be reactionary? And so I think it would make sense for our league to be leaders in this space. And there's again, I don't want to go so detailed. There's a lot of nuanced issues when it comes to science and hormone therapy, et cetera. I've chosen to educate myself about the space. I've chosen to listen to transgender families, and what I know is exclusion is not the answer. We've got to find the common ground and be inclusive. That's a space I think.
You notice she says, I've chosen to educate myself by listening to trans families. She doesn't speak about the science, just speaks about anecdotal evidence of folks she's talked to. Again, the vagueness. Let's have common sense people get together and do what? The common sense thing is what's already been doing. 2 separate leagues. Maybe we start a 3rd league for just transgenders. No one is saying that trans women are predators. Now, are there some weirdos out there who become trans just to be able to go into the women's locker room because it's a fetish for them? Of course there is. But does that mean that we label everybody like that? Of course not. Why can she not make that distinction? Why does she have to only make it about the fact that there are some people out there who are saying that these things will lead to these problems?
We all come from that. I also think like I said, the issue isn't as big as the issues that we have in women's sports. Whether it's cisgender men that have held us down for years in spaces like being able to have access to facilities and uniforms and locker rooms, all the things that these young girls that are sitting at games with anti-trans signs, do they understand actually what their real problems are and how they're being marginalized? We're still not in a space where we have equality. We don't even have the Equal Rights Amendment in all 50 states, right? So there's real issues. This is an issue.
She's crazy. I'm sorry. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I swear I'm trying, but this is nuts. We don't have equal rights. And the sign she's talking about, it was 2 girls courtside where they held up a sign saying, "Thank you, Sophie, for standing up for women in sports or girls in sports," which Cheryl decides to say, oh, well, they don't understand everything because it's so nuanced. So you're calling them stupid. I mean, we just spoke about common sense. Now you're calling 2 girls who support someone who has their same view pretty much stupid. Again, why are we making this so complicated? Okay. If you were born with a wee-wee, you play with where the wee-wees play. If you were born without a wee-wee, then you play where there are no wee-wees. Now, if somewhere in between you decide to be a part of the other crowd or something happens or whatever, I don't care, right? You want to be the other, fine. But you don't automatically get to then encroach in their space. And there's one other thing too that I want to bring up. You don't ever see women transitioning to men who then have this problem with competition. You ever notice that? It's never that way. It's always men transitioning to women and then they're trying to play in women's sports.
That I think that we can thoughtfully work through, and that's my hope. I think Minnesota Lynx fans are some of the best fans in the WNBA. Very diverse fans. It is my hope that we demonstrate leadership in this space. You can voice your opinion, have a strong opinion, but it's a safe space for everyone, regardless of whether or not we agree.
Well, guess what, Cheryl? You got your wish. It's a safe space because on August 7th, which was last Friday, you had 2 retired NBA players declare for the WNBA.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in May 2027. I am definitely not here to mock, make fun of, or disrespect any community or personal choices. I am simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone. The rules that represent the very values many WNBA players and coaches have publicly advocated for. My team and I are prepared to ensure these guidelines are applied equally, consistently, and without exception. And I look forward to the WNBA honoring its stated principles. See you at training camp.
Well. Enes Kanter is 6'10", 250, 260. So he's not a little dude. He played 11 years in the NBA. He wasn't a bad player in the NBA. He was known for his offensive rebounding and his ability to score close to the rim. He wasn't the greatest defensive player there was, but the dude was not a joke. He could play ball. So imagine the damage he will do in the WNBA. This is not a joke. He is not trolling. And I know this because shortly after that post, he then releases this post.
Well, it's official. I just declared for the 2027 WNBA Draft in April. Join me in this journey.
Enes Kanter Freedom decided he's going to throw his hat into the WNBA.
The WNBA does not ban men who identify as women right now from playing in the league.
He would dominate the WNBA without batting an eyelash.
The number one prospect in the history of the WNBA.
Let freedom play is a diabolical hashtag. Oh no. Oh, what have y'all done? This is complete cinema. I love it. This is Christopher Nolan next level cinema. But wait, there's more. Royce White, a man who also played in the NBA, he only played 3 total minutes, didn't score any points, also declared for the WNBA.
So I do want to ask, like, how has your journey been so far? How has your reception been announcing for the WNBA draft? We just went through the rules of the WNBA. There is no rules that exclude you from joining the WNBA right now. And in fact, many players say that they want transgender individuals to be playing on their team or against them. They welcome it. The coaches are saying that. The league has stated that, and so we expect you to be welcomed with open arms. Is that going to happen?
Wig is killing me.
We would hope so. We would hope that.
Oh my God!
Their values and their principles in the WNBA.
It's kind of low. I can't put it up any higher.
The pushback has been unprecedented for me. The hate. I mean, I've never received so much hate. As a black man, I thought I was the victim of oppression. But being the first, prospectively, one of the first black, sometimes identifying as a transgender lesbian, the hate is unreal.
I thought that I thought that this would be an accepting community, and this is all I've ever heard is that I need to accept these people and who and what they identify as. And it can change. There's no rules. It can just kind of change at all times. And so it seems like you're playing by those rules, yet you're being attacked for it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's some really vicious stuff. You should commit suicide. You're a piece of crap. Your mother should be ashamed of you. I had one person tell me they were going to find me and pistol whip me until I piss on myself. I was just thinking, wow.
God damn.
The amount of hate that's out there for trans. I never understood it. All these times I've been a conservative, pundit, and I talked about this issue. I never really understood just how much hate there is for trans people. It's just a shock to me that mostly it's coming from the left. And you can tell because I go to their social media profiles, try and get a feel for who I'm talking to. And, they got all their party line Democrat content on their posts. And, they're Kamala Harris supporters, or they had the trans flag and whatnot. And it's been a real shock. It's been very eye-opening. I'm very empathetic now for what all my fellow trans Americans and trans people all over the world must deal with on a daily basis.
What am I gonna do? I can only just laugh. Listen, who am I to judge his plight? Okay, he is a trans woman, and he deserves all the rights that we have. And you know, the WNBA, like Cheryl Reeve said, is an inclusive league. They should lead the way. I think they should allow Enes Kanter and Royce White to play in the WNBA. That's the only right thing to do. Otherwise, they will be denying two trans individuals their rights while also fueling possible hate crimes and even having people hurt transgender folks. And we cannot stand for that. So I stand with them. Now, the WNBA did come out and make a statement about this. I know many of you have received questions in recent weeks regarding transgender athlete participation in women's basketball, and I expect this topic will continue to receive significant attention. Elgin Burt, I don't know, I hope I'm saying that right, but regardless, Elgin Burt wrote in the memo, which was sent Friday afternoon and obtained by the Associated Press and ESPN. I wanted to reach out to share how we are approaching these conversations at the league office and to thank those of you who have responded to questions from the media with thoughtfulness and professionalism. The memo said the topic will be discussed further by a task force of team presidents and general managers at a previously scheduled meeting next week. I don't know about y'all, but if we know anything about capitalism, I think the general managers are going to be like, hey, it's in the rules. Unless they change it and they actually define what a woman is, then why not let them play? I think the ratings are going to be through the roof. I don't know. That's what I think. I'm going to go watch because I want to see this. There's a 1-minute video of Fox pundits talking about this, and this is what they had to say.
Just so we're clear here on the WNBA, Sophie's alone. She's alone right now.
I think there are a lot of people that agree with her. They just don't want to talk about it.
But that's even worse.
Yeah, it is.
That's even worse, that you're going to allow one of your colleagues that's trying to protect all of you guys as if it's a controversial point of view to say that the men should play in the men's league and the women should play in the women's league. And right now, all the attention and scrutiny, they're going to try to suppress her. Thank God that her advertising is going up and many people are backing her right now. But she's essentially the only person in the WNBA saying that there should be fairness there. I mean, are you guys crazy? Do you understand what's going to happen to your league? The NBA already subsidizes the WNBA already. Right, so the league was on its heels. They're trying to get rid of Caitlin, who has been a generational talent, has brought more eyeballs on there. The moment that guys walk onto the practice field and start competing there, the sport is going to be done. No one is going to watch. So I just don't understand the end goal of these women right here, because if they are saying that this is okay, then don't be surprised next season when you see dudes come up at the practice facility and say, I want to try out for the team. Because y'all guys have said it's okay. You're letting this young woman stand out there alone, and she's trying to protect all of you guys. I just think that's shameful.
The only thing that I don't agree with him is that no one will watch the games. I think more people will watch the games if they allow transgender women to play in the WNBA. But also, he called it a field. My bro, it's a court. But that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, I think he makes some valid points. I think anybody with some semblance of common sense will look at this and be like, yeah, what are we doing here? Like, come on, guys. This is not how it should go. But ultimately, I do think that they're going to try to figure out a way to not let these two gentlemen, Royce White and Enes Kanter, play. Because if they play, it's going to change the game, and I'm all for it. Here's another WNBA player's opinion on trans women in the WNBA.
I think it's trans rights right now is our new battle. That's what I think I was saying, that like the battles have changed. Oh, yes. You know, like our intentions have been the same, but now the environment has changed. We see trans people's rights being, stripped away from them. There's a lot of discourse around trans athletes and where they can compete in. I would welcome a trans athlete on my team or against my team anytime. I don't think it's a problem in the world. It's just another way to kind of attack trans people. We've seen players like Laisha Clarendon who stepped into that forefront and have been brave enough and courageous enough to kind of step up. So I guess that's the next battle that we have to fight as athletes.
That's the next battle we have to fight as athletes. Okay. All right. If you say so, young lady. You're right. I want to see it. I want to see it. I can't wait. It's going to happen. We're going to see it. But wait, there's more.
Have the fever again in the regular season, but coming out of the break, one of the big news stories has been Sophie Cunningham and the protests for her and protests against her. And, you know, they had a national televised game today and Cheryl, you know, wore a shirt, and it's just a conversation. I'm wondering, just what do you think about it? Do you think that's good for the league? Does it detract from the basketball? Is it just noise? I'm just wondering what your opinion is.
Yeah, we're all wondering.
I think, thank you for that question.
What is your opinion?
Just in terms of how I'm seeing it is,
okay.
If I could answer with, like, for me, sports is about belonging.
Let me guess, inclusivity?
It's about inclusivity.
Oh, look at that.
It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic self.
Right.
You know, I'm big on that just because I have been criticized for my height, for my ethnicity. I've been in those "you shouldn't belong here" many times. And for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play, and that includes trans women. So I'm all about inclusivity.
Okay. What did Robert Downey Jr. say in Tropic Thunder?
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
I didn't say it. He said it. Don't look at me. Listen, I got nothing to do with that. Listen, you're going to have to take it up with the editor. That wasn't me, so whatever. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with it? Do you think trans women should be in the WNBA or should they not? Should they make their own league? Let me know what you think. And until next time.